Good morning, everyone. Welcome to our weekly webinar hosted by Reveres Academy and Cambodia Chamber of Commerce, curated by Up Your Game 2016. So today, we are glad to present to you the topic on collaborative leadership. And so you can find us on our social media, Reveres Academy, our website, Facebook, YouTube, and Telegram. So do scan the QR code and you can join us to see what are the upcoming webinar and also the previous webinar that we have been doing. And you also can see from our YouTube the full webinar. Okay, so as for today's topic, collaborative leadership, the objective that we would want to achieve is to let audience know how to develop collaborative leadership that leads in the new normal that we are having now as the COVID is. And also how do we transfer into a market-oriented ecosystem business model through collaborative leadership, and also deploy certain leadership tools and techniques that enhance virtual collaboration. So we are glad to have Mr. William To be our speaker. Mr. William is a seasoned business leader with 25 years of regional Asia Pacific and Southeast Asia working experience. Since then, he has been delivering local and overseas training and learning and development, and having various business integration and merger and acquisition projects. So this project result in effective human capital development, improvement and business transformation, OD practice, in-company project management, and business leadership change management development. So having led Fortune 500 company, delivered customized program, business consultation for MNCs and SMEs. So without further ado, let's welcome Mr. William to give us the webinar for today. Yeah, William, up to you.
Sure. Hi, morning everyone. Thank you, Nai. Yep.
Yeah.
Good morning to all of you. Okay. Arum Sunsai. Yep. Okay. Let me share my screen with you, folks, and then we can. Okay. Hope you all can see my screen. Okay. Welcome to this webinar. So I'll give you a snapshot exactly what we expect. I also hope to hear from you all what exactly you all would like to know. End of the webinar, about 15 minutes or so, we'll have a Q&A, question and answer. Okay. This is about collaborative leadership. Basically, it's partly a transformations from situational leadership. But because due to the situation now we are facing in these uncertain times within this kind of economy development, yeah, I mean, no country can or economy can really away from such a situation. So what we are trying to do is share with you exactly how your company can actually adopt such a collaborative leadership style, I would say, in leading your organization within this uncertain time. I won't know this uncertain time when it's over, but it will become the new normal. As you said, could be something that is new that nobody knows. Yeah. The whole collaborative leadership development, I use the platform basically some of you may be familiar with. It's called the McKinsey 7S. Okay. So I'm using the style, the shared vision, okay, plus the strategy as part of the development. Okay. This program is developed partly based upon the kind of situation we are in. Okay. So you're trying to achieve three things over here. How are you going to develop your leadership, collaborative leadership style in this new normal? And from the outside in, okay, from the outside in, we'll look at the market-oriented ecosystem. I will show you what exactly is called the, in short, MOE, the business model that you can consider to adopt under this collaborative leadership. And of course, there are some tools that the techniques that allow you to think about what are sort of workforce, how are you going to manage your people under the virtual condition. Simply we'll look at it, there will be a role to play, which you develop. there is a process that you will think to you can adopt, and there will be tools that you can apply basically in the whole simply these collaborative leaderships. Okay. Okay, next I just quickly something share about myself. Though Nine, just now Mr. Nine did share with you about my background. So yes, over almost 30 years of general management kind of, also sit in the board, yeah, some sort of investment, yeah. My last job working overseas was with CP Group, Choro Pokumham. It's a Thai company. I was the senior executive director of the company, report to the chairman, okay, which is Kun Superkit. Yeah. So what I've been to countries like Hong Kong, Bangkok, Malaysia, Kuching, and also countries. Yeah. In fact, I've been to Phnom Penh last round when we will deliver one of the opening for Reveres. Yep. So these are some of my background. In Singapore itself, I have been doing some of the assessment for company. So my focus actually is in business at integration, technology in terms of digital technology. Okay, last but not least, basically how to do some sort of so-called company investment where they need some new way of doing things. Well, without further ado, we can quickly go dive into the so-called the webinar itself. Okay, now in the new normal, that we were looking at things like so-called from the inside out. As an individual or leaders in the business, we should think about some sort of transition where we are moving away from what we call a normal ecosystem within the organization, the ego, not so much of ego, but ego. Yeah. So in the past, most of the time that organization, because they are built in the so-called hierarchy, more like a pyramid format. So most of the instruction, directives, the coming down is a top-down kind of command. And as you know, there will be a time whereby company in the past they work in so-called SBU, strategic business unit. They are all in special area that they focus in the market. Yeah. So those become independent silo at time. Yeah, companies that I mean we used to work in, example like Motorola, they used to sell mobile phone and system and so on. But under Motorola, there are a few other businesses. Each of them are like SBU, strategic business unit. So they are not fully integrated. Okay. Also because as things have changed in the market, in the environment, as you know, some of the countries during the back in the late 90s, when the WTO they start up to onboard this WTO, deregulation that comes into a country, even like China, even Singapore, so that they have to change the way the business to move on because globalization during those days the SBU can serve in certain market very well. Okay, they are all not so-called integrated yet, yeah, because of the changes within the Asia Pacific, yeah. So it could be a territory dominated, yeah. So you may be having regional headquarters, you may be having headquarters in some so-called countries and so on and so forth. So there could be even power struggle. When I say this power struggle, it's not so much a political power struggle. It's more about the business in terms of their profit center, cost center that comes in, whereby they are trying to grab the market and so on and so forth. Yeah. As for self-interest, sometimes you think about, okay, every leadership has certain projects they want to do. So they want to drive that and to make a difference, make a change and so on and so forth. Also at times, maybe some information are being withheld and also things that may not get well, some blaming may be happening. Yeah. But with this new pandemic, also called the COVID-19 situation, in the past few months, you look at it from late 2019 onward, the start, companies start to aware that changes have to come in. So now the whole system is somehow blended together, partly because of technology. We have today what you're looking at, me talking to you through the webinar, because there are technology to allow us to connect faster, easier, and seamlessly. And I would say there's no time barrel in terms of signing up and so on and so forth. It's so live and so actual. Yeah. So because of that, it now become from me to we, sort of a kind of collaborations of working together, whether it were from different company, different kind of background, different kind of countries, and so on. So that would be a great so-called synergy and combination of things happening at the same time. So economy has changed. Company had to look from so-called inside out, what others are doing and what we should adapt and adopt. Okay, so there'll be changes. So this is part of the so-called the role of collaborative leadership that comes in. You need to piggyback or maybe harness the so-called the opportunity that outsider external resources provide to complement what you do not have. So that is the start of the thinking itself. Yeah, which I later share with you. There are two popular business leaders that some of you are already familiar with. One is Steve Jobs himself, yeah, and the other one is Elon Musk. Okay, both of them are collaborative kind of leaders, but on a different part of the spectrum of the leadership. Yeah, but we'll share on that later on their style. So the way we talk, the way we communicate today is so much different. Okay, but there will be something so-called we look for commonality, common thing that we can work on. Already we are in the common kind of situation, which is a COVID-19. Every country is facing the same thing. So we are common area. So we also need to look for the aligned agility, mean that things that can work on, you can share resources, whereby you can put it together into a piece. So in the past, you can say that, oh, this business is only one part. We were not able to integrate to the other part. But look at today, look at example like Grab, Airbnb. They are all actually not a new idea, but it's integrated with some technology in it that make them to transform something that is new. Okay, so that's where the aligned agility that comes in. You think of putting things together, the integration become important. So one part is integration, the other part is implementation, about adopting the new technology that helps the organization. Then we have looked at it also. The other part will be the mutual kind of empowerment. This is more about the internal people, whereby you talk about in the past, your staff may be working in silo, in pockets, and so on. But with the new normal, actually from one unit, we built onto a kind of network, okay, a kind of network. Yeah, but we are now moving into the collaborative mode, not only just a network, they will be in a platform of distributed network. Okay, in other words, here comes some implication on the skill set of the people. Um, by looking at the reading PwC, we're going to search out PwC's company, mentioned that even for 2025, there are three business units. They used to be on the shared service platform. Eventually, they'll be integrated into one. They, what PwC name it as optimization business unit. What are they? The three units are legal, finance, and HR. They put them these three units into one. So it's a kind of collaboration of the skill set together that make a difference. And as you know, because of today, the technology comes in also make a change. Some of you may heard of RPA, robotics, okay, process automation. This automation is not working in silo. They are all integrated across the business so as to gather information, gather data, and so on, putting them onto the same platform so that allowing company to drive efficiency towards effectiveness. Eventually, there's some implications, some impact outcome. Okay, so that's the kind of change that comes in. We created a kind of mutual support, mutual kind of empowerment. Yeah. And of course, there will be a joint knowledge development and mutual accountability. When we are doing it, you will see that happening. You'll have a knowledge base and so on and so forth. Yeah, that's why we're putting things together in a different perspective. So in the past, you may heard of some of these initiative that company driven, so-called multi-skill. Okay, today is not just a multi-skill. We will look at it as collaborative skill set that comes together. So the combination of this to describe collaborative leadership is the role the leader need to adopt, thinking about the new techniques they're going to use, how to put people to work together differently, not based upon just a JD, based upon a collaborative kind of skill set, network skill set. They're able to so-called develop the organization, move the organization within this so-called the change we are facing at the moment. Yeah. So you also used to enlighten so-called a sense of unity in the people, the teamwork among all the line leaders and employees. I've seen companies, especially those startup, when they come up, you look at some of the companies, they use a name card, even without titles. They take away the whole company individual titles, no more general manager and so on. They just have the name, okay, and they just tell them what is their specialty. So in other words, they're breaking down the wall of the hierarchy, the naming of individual, and so on and so forth. So it's a collaborative work. In fact, that already started some time back. Companies using without a workspace, a workplace without any walls. Even they're sitting together with the management. Now, with the collaborative leadership, we are driving towards eventually so-called a digital workplace. So that will be some of the outcomes you'll see. A digital workplace is very different. It will be basically using technology and working together. Yeah, so you will see some of these things that happen as we go along. Yeah, and what is the outcome for company? Let's say you're from the HR human resource, you will see some called EVP, so-called employee value proposition, will drive out of this digital workplace. Eventually, you will reach so-called the future work. Where are we? And corporate branding itself. Yeah. So these are some of the outcomes that you will see. So at the backdrop of this collaborative leadership, what you need to acquire are things like technology and some sort of new skill set, new way of communicating, new way of information. Yeah. So actually, collaborative leadership is also started off with partly situational. Situation is more vertical in a sense. Where certain situation happen, like crisis and so on, you use this style of leadership to overcome and manage. But collaborative leadership is across an organization. You're making use or adopting different kind of skill set, different kind of situation that consider to build it up as your strength and so-called area of your driving. So that has some implication even for mobility talent. So in other words, talent has to be network talent. Many a time we talk about talent development, talent management, and today we got talking about talent network. Meaning that how can you use talent in different part of the organization, even outside of the organization. Example, your partners like supplier, customer, and so on and so forth. Okay, so that is where a collaborative leadership comes in. So what are one of the action that you will see in collaborative leadership, that you will see that companies start to adopt a lot of projects. They're working based on project. That's where agility comes in. An agile organization, you see pockets of people working together. They're driving it. That is not new. You look at Google, they has been using that form of drive all the while. Yeah. So they are driving it by project. The only thing is that we have not seen that put in a bigger or more popular way of looking at it. But today we can see that it's happening. So from that, because we have one common goal, putting all these things together, you've seen earlier from the chart, we are creating an ecosystem within an organization, okay, to drive organization efficiency and effectiveness, okay? Of course, there are some cost implication when you adopt. There will be a bridging so-called situation, okay? Now let's look at the next one, from inside out to outside in. What should we consider the process to be like, okay? Okay, here is the outside in kind of a consideration. You can see on my chart here, very quickly go into, I call it market-oriented ecosystem. The term is not coined by me. Basically, it's taken out from one of these guru, Dr. Dave Ulrich, okay? He actually came up with this kind of concept called market-oriented kind of ecosystem. Actually, what happened is that very simply look at environment, you appreciate, anticipate what's going to happen. In other words, you need information. You need mutual information that comes in. Remember I mentioned about ecosystem earlier on? That's where the mutual information that give you inputs. Then from there, you translate that into strategy, which is not new. Company has been doing it. The only thing is that you need to clarify and facilitate together with the team. Okay, it's not just by the top management. You have to cut across the organization. Then we're coming to the capability itself. Now, capability, as we know, it may today because of technology. Where one part is technology, one part is data. Okay, they are both the same side of the same coin. Okay, different side of the coin. Okay, technology is one part, capability is the other part. Then what sit below to support the technology and data itself? That will be so-called the competency, which all these three together, they form together to be the capability of the organization development. Okay, so that will be what you should consider: technology, data, competency. This will come in whereby you need to diagnose and embed that into your system and process. Then the methodology itself is a design. Okay, you may heard of now have even you were design thinking and so on and so forth. Your use of all these so-called methodology to evolve and to change, to simplify the way that how your capability or action are being transformed into a result. Okay, translating that. Yeah. And the design and delivery are not that difficult. There are many ways of been doing it in the past. Company adopt different approach and so on and so forth. Okay. And importantly to add on is that because of all this, you have technology and data. The governance become important. As you know, there's cybersecurity, data breach, and so on and so forth. So governance will be one area will be important to regulate the whole process of this change. Okay, in terms towards this so-called market orientation, and also because of that, we are working remotely. Most of our company, their staff could be, I'm not sure at the moment in Cambodia, but countries like in Singapore and even US or Australia, Malaysia, and so on, Thailand and all this. I have connects with business. They are also now working away from the company. When you're working remotely, mean that you're accessing the company computer system through an outside network. So the governance now have one more layer. It's not just about the policy and procedure in terms of the company operation. It's also about protecting the company information and its people, its asset. Okay. So cybersecurity is one area that you need to think about in considering this is the new normal where it's going to change technology and data. How are these two going to work hand in hand? Last but not least, the leadership. Very important. Today, the leaders are not the one who tell, but the one who show and the one to coach. So what I've seen earlier mentioned to you about collaborative leadership are the one who listen, right? The one who actually have an idea, how they're going to allow this idea to grow and to develop ideation. So in one of the aspect, come back to the methodology is the design. In design thinking, it's important that we allow feedback, we allow ideas to develop. Okay, from there is the basis of the success. Okay, so company like you heard of the Tesla and all these things, they actually came from very simple idea that they more propagate and grow into the where they are today. Okay, so now you're using those things that put them into a proper perspective to drive it. So simply, this is a process. So this is outside in. So when you adopt the collaborative leadership, this is where the mutual thinking, mutual management thoughts coming in from this simple process. Okay, so this will help you to think about how to develop a flexible and relevant collaborative leadership program for your own organization. Of course, this can be customized, can be adopted based upon the company culture, company business, okay, and company kind of business nature and so on and so forth. Okay, so in other words, this will incorporate into the business model, into your strategy, that how it works. Okay, this will be driven, I mean, can be shared further when we have some sort of a customization or requirement and so on. But these are the framework that we'll work on to help organization to make the kind of a change that required. Okay. Now, deploying means that how are you going to use it? I mentioned to you three things. You saw the roles earlier on. Those above, they are the roles. We have seen the process partly. And these are something that as a collaborative leadership, you can see indicator of collaborative leadership taking place in your organization. once you adopt the tools, the process, and so on, that will actually help to enhance what you're thinking of adopting virtual communication, virtual workplace, and virtual team, and so on. One, you will see remote team member. Okay, they will actually participate very effectively. Okay, so their working behavior, as I mentioned earlier on, there will be collaborative skill set coming in. There will be no such thing as there will be only a boss. There will be all different kind of leaders building up. Okay, but of a different kind of skill set. They lead. Yeah. So you see remote team working together, sharing information, communicating, and using collaborative tool set and so on to build and work on projects. As I mentioned, one of the distinct part of the collaborative leadership where happening in organization, you can see pockets of projects working together at the same time, but all towards the same goal, toward the same mission of achieving efficiency, effectiveness for the outcome of the business. So in collaborative leadership, adopt leaders will be actually their team leaders, okay, for all the members, and not reserved only just for the so-called the top leaders. Yeah. So collaborating leaders have to build a lot of their own leaders, okay, and to develop them. Yeah. And the high level of transparency among the team member. What do you mean by high level of transparency? I mean that, in other words, they need to share information, they think their thoughts and so on and so forth. And this is just in lines because of our social media have created the younger millennium, the younger generation. They are all communicated. They like to speak about things in their mind, from the heart, and so on. So they are using this sort of method. They want the transparency. Okay, they do not want information to be hidden from them. But I mean, anyway, you hide any information in today's connected world, so-called internet world. All this information can be harnessed and can be gathered from different sources. Okay, so that's where I say the shared kind of thing we are going to. Um, Unfortunately, we move a very short period of time. We in the past, we are in the kind of economy whereby we are building up, and then we went to one stage in the past 5 years called the shared economy. Yeah, where things like the Airbnb, then Grab and all this. Those are situations of so-called shared. But because of the COVID-19 that strike us at this moment, we are seeing the economy are moving toward isolated economy. But in order to break this isolated economy out of the way is to build connectivity and build collaboration. Okay, regardless of the countries you are from, the nationality, and so on and so forth. So collaboration become important. They work based on collaboration, but collaboration based on one key factor: trust. Okay, the trust is a central pillar for this whole entire organization, okay, to develop and push on. So in other words, there should not be any hidden agenda. So in order to build trust, organization need to adopt diversity, inclusiveness, okay, into the organization in order to develop trust. Without diversity and inclusive, very difficult. Diversity is different kind of nationality, different kind of background. Inclusiveness is that everyone within an organization have a part to play. Okay, you include everybody. So in order to identify so-called the collaborative kind of leadership behavior in the organization, okay, and this is called ONA. Organization network analysis is not new. I've been used in the very early in the 50s or so. It's not new. It's basically to find out what sort of behavior that people can work together. So in order to get the people to work together, it's not just by the skill set. We talk about collaborative kind of skill set, but also talk about the behavior required to support this. So organization network analysis is a tool that organization can consider as one of the tools. I would say is the best. It could be one of the start that you start to identify the kind of work behavior that support collaborative action and activities. Okay. Here I will not touch much. You can go and Google it and find out what exactly organization network analysis is. It's a science by itself. Okay. This will be driving towards called people before system. Okay, the whole collaborative leadership is about people before system. Okay, because we are supported by technology. Technology is a system before people. So we need to complement on the other side using people before system to complement and make a balance. Okay, so you have people on one side, you have a system on one side, but you take the action, you need to balance on this both. Yeah, so the organization analysis, network analysis allow you to see this in totality, both the system and the people. How are you going to manage it? Okay, it's a tool by itself. Okay, it's a scientific, so-called in a way of scientific. Yeah. Okay, so collaborative leadership, very quickly we can define it under basically is talent extremely important as of today. And this is Elon Musk. I hope you all know who is he. He basically is the one who drives the Tesla and so on and so forth. Must also understand that teamwork is necessary for anyone. You can quote and see all this. I think Mr. Nine going to share this slide with you after the webinar. Okay, so Must mentioned that he leads by doing than telling, and there is set an example that inspires his team to success. So what I'm talking about the leadership, there are many ways of doing this collaborative leadership. This is called the power. Okay, we're adopting the power leadership. Okay, later you see there are different kind of leadership, collaborative leadership. So the power of this is using running on power because you will see a significance of putting the collective team together, and it allows solution to develop from the best idea of the group into a problem-solving group. Okay, this Elon Musk, that how you'll be doing it. I will think that this will be eventually the way the organization work and the way the company need to go through their sustainability. Yeah. Okay, now this whole slide, I'm not going to read through a lot of words. Maybe when you have the information, you can look at it. There are total different way of approach in terms of consideration. When you're being a collaborative leader, let's take one of them. Okay, let's take the number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Team members are assigned with more responsibility while team leaders are more involved in the process. What simply says this, when you are being the leader, you look at the process while the team members are working on the content. Okay, so it's balancing between the content and the process. So when you become a collaborative leader, you're more a process person, a process leader. Okay, but many a time, many leaders, they groom up from the background of engineering, technical, they become tends to be more content person. So you switch the mindset into a process management. Okay, and you know Steve Jobs, basically the difference is this. Okay, between Steve Jobs and him, Steve knew that, look at the last statement here, Steve knew that he could not realize the vision by himself. So he surrounded himself with people who could challenge him and help him to take his idea to the next level. Okay, so Steve Jobs is also a collaborative leader, but basically his style is different. He's the hard type. Well, Elon Musk is the soft type of collaborative leadership. The difference is he has an idea. Okay, he will share it out for Steve. Then he want the idea to be in. Well, Elon Musk is the other way around. Okay, he like to hear the idea to pick the best idea from the people that will build on it. Okay, rather than he has an idea to build on that the similar idea. So they are both the same, but they achieve it slightly differently. Okay. Oops. Okay. Now this is the last slide that I have to conclude basically. So collaborative leadership, you can think of it between a hard and a soft. Okay. So you can read that Elon Musk mentioned that he takes feedback. Okay. If you're trying to create a company, it's like baking a cake. He mentioned you have to have all the ingredient in the right proportion to make it. Yeah. So whereas Steve Jobs himself is a hard leader, okay, Elon Musk is a soft leader, and that is the definition between the two of them. Okay, both are visionary leaders, but their intent are different. Okay, outcome are different, and they make a difference within the organization. So to summarize, collaborative leadership basically are of different kind of leaders, ideas, and insight. That is the meaning of the definition. So you ask me, what is collaborative leadership? Simply is the different kind of leadership ideas and insight, they're putting it together. Either you're being a soft or you're being a hard leaders within that description. Okay, so much so for me at this point. I will hand it over to Nine. Okay, we should have a quick Q&A and then see where are you focusing on, because we can go on further in depth into using this to help the organization to transform. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, William, for the uh, information and good speech. Okay,
I
you
will
have
stop share. Yeah.
yeah. If you have any questions, you can actually type in the Q&A so that we can answer. William can answer your question on the presentation or on some collaborative leadership that.
Okay, I read some of these. Someone mentioned about the ecosystem trying to move to the
Yep. You can check with him.
right.
Anyone have any question? Actually, for collaborative leadership, I guess the leadership style now has changed a lot. There is a lot of debate, I think, concerning two different type of leadership as organization have young teens and you have baby boomers. So actually, it's quite difficult to manage both. So would you give any suggestion how a collaborative leadership can mingle between these two groups?
You mean the different generation group,
Yes,
right?
different generation group. Yeah.
Okay, as I mentioned earlier on, it's about collaboration. Okay, now why are they a generation group different? Because of the economy have evolved differently. Okay, let's say take Singapore for instance. In the past, during the early late 80s, okay, before 1980 in Singapore, our educational system played a very important part in this. We are using so-called the criterion reference way of measuring people taking the exam, the thoughts in this. Mean that they have a standard. Okay, they have a standard. Everybody will go through this standard, the golden standard, and then you are being qualified or certified. So you come out think in that way. Everything is by standard. Okay, but in the late 80s all the way to 90s, somehow educational system has changed. So today, like Singapore schools adopted GPA, which is the American kind of measurement. Now, GPA is not working on criterion reference. Okay, they are working on norm reference. Norm reference is that every group of cohorts of students coming into the education system, they are measured only within this group. So when they are being qualified or certified, they go out as a group. They are measured against their cohorts. They are measured against their own kind, so-called, of the age group. So because of that thinking created in the school, so the so-called the Y group basically, okay, not the baby boomers, more the Y group itself. Their thoughts is that we need to share in order to compare, okay. While in the older group, whereby using the criterion reference group, we need to share in terms of having a common standard. Okay, example, you set certain thing, we must follow this standard, we compare this thing, you're taught against this standard. Well, the younger generation not think about this. I will need to share among my cohorts, among my generation group, what do they think? Before that, I realized that it's a standard we follow. So that's why that ecosystem has changed. So you can see that transformed into the ego to the ecosystem. So for this two group, as a collaborative leader, as I mentioned, you need to balance both. Okay, both. Even I mentioned a system before people before system. So you realize that using technology is one way, okay, one way to entice the younger generation or the younger group, the other generation group, to open up and to work collaboratively. On the other hand, okay, you may have some harder thing or system itself, like what Steve Jobs did, is how you're going to inspire the older group, basically involving them, what they have done in the past well can be transformed into the future. So in short, in a nutshell, younger one, you tell them what the future going to be like. Okay, in simple word, the future going to be like the younger generation, yeah, the group. The older generation, you don't have to tell them about the future. You tell them that what in the past that you have done successful to be allow you to sustain into the future. Okay, using the old successful thoughts they have think of to put them into the future. So that's the way to communicate. If I'm a collaborative leader, I have a balance. I won't be using one style for all. So this is one method that you will need to consider to put that in space, to make them in balance. But end of the day, I mentioned one thing common, put them into a collaborative project work, and you will see the result from there. Okay.
I guess okay. I
And now you're breaking up. I can't hear you.
Can you hear me?
It breaks up. It breaks up. You can repeat that again.
Okay. Oh yeah. So actually, okay, I think in terms of the difference, I think the position for the older generation is definitely higher than the younger generation. So in these circumstances, even collaborative wise, there would be a difference in the
I still can't hear you. Hello?
You hear me?
Yeah, there's some sort of echoing, I think, from your side, and then breakups. Right.
Oh, okay. No, because your once in a while your screen hang in that sense. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, never mind. You actually what I was asking that I guess
my
as
video
a,
may be better. Hold on. Okay, once off the video may be better.
okay.
Now, what I heard you
Okay.
is that important to overcome. You said there's a difference. Yes. If you're coming in from the so-called driving as a process, and other than that, using the process of the MOE, one area is about the work job redesign. So one have to redesign the work process in order to make a balance. Okay, my answer to you on that will be in-house. You need to do a job, workplace redesign.
Okay, understood. I think that's the thing that probably the driving force of workplace redesign.
And I mentioned earlier on, one word is called talent network. Talent network is that you're building of the talent, not just based upon pipelines of succession and potential, but talent network is basically everyone has a part to play and how we're going to build them as a collaborative, because some of them are going to work from home and each of them will have some sort of area that they contribute to the organization very differently.
Okay, do agree to that. Yeah, I think that is something that organizations should look at it. Yeah, as a basis of their present workforce.
Okay. Any questions from anyone? Nope.
Okay. Anyone else? Okay. If there's no questions, probably we will end this webinar. And thank you, Mr. William, for the well talk webinar, and we have really learned a lot from it. And thank you very much for all the participants for joining us. We can look forward to next week to another webinar that we'll be hosting on. So we'll see you soon. Yep. And in the meantime, stay safe and have a good weekend. Yep. Thank you, William.
So uncle.
Thanks.
All right. Thank you.